Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have The Soldier. So, The Soldier is one of the stories from the Wicker Saga, which we started about a year or two ago, and then kind of stopped. Not because we weren't interested, but just because like some other things took priority, and like then I just forgot about it.
What was the other one?
Hmm?
What was the other one?
Well, there's the Wicker House, and then like there's a bunch of stories. There's a couple stories after the Wicker House that were part of like a greater like mythos of stories that Shadow Swimmer 77, who's the author of the Wicker House Saga and the Wicker Saga, has done. So I decided for the next few weeks we're gonna be covering some more of the Wicker Saga stories. Now, just for some reference, I may have to go back and listen to some listen to our episodes, or like re check, or just like skim through some of those old Wicker stories, just so they're like, I know that there's no like, I don't think there's any like you need to read this story before this one, but like I'm sure I'm wrong about that.
Probably.
But I am in the next few weeks, like moving forward, like as we read through these Wicker stories, I'm going to quickly go back and check to see, just skim through and refamiliarize myself with the Wicker Saga stuff. But for now, we're going to treat these like we always do, the story itself, as it is presented by the week. So, and like I said, this is by Shadow Swimmer 77 or Michael Landry on creepypasta.wiki. You can check it out there, along with all the other Wicker Saga stories and anything else that Shadow Swimmer has done. So, but before we dive too far into this story, which is quite long, let's do initial recommendations. I am going to recommend this one.
I am going to partially recommend this one.
All right.
I will recommend it as well.
Okay. Well, let's find out why two of us fully recommend it and the other one partially, and see where we go from there. See where we end up by the end. Starting with the rundown, featuring The Rock, except not featuring The Rock because narrator has a name.
Thank God.
His name is Mike Landry. Part 1, Dream. Mike Landry, a burned-out veteran who had something strange and terrible happen to him and his platoon in Iraq 3 years ago, wakes up from a nightmare of those events before getting ready for his current job as a teacher just outside of Philadelphia at a prep school. As he finishes up his last day before the Thanksgiving holidays, Mike decides to take advantage, as he has before, of the school's athletic amenities and go for a jog through the trails in the woods around the campus. But that's when a severe freak storm comes rolling in, and the scar on his back flares up, causing him to collapse and hurt himself. Part 2, The Storm. As Mike comes to, beaten up and injured from his fall, he hears a voice in his head of someone telling him to run as something wants him dead. He gets up and out of the forest, back to the gymnasium building to clean up and check his wounds, while some creature stalks him from the woods. It follows him inside the school, which is vacant and then loses power at some point. But thankfully, Mike manages to escape and get to the train station to reach home. Part 3, The Monster. On the train, Mike encounters a lone homeless man, the only person in the train car with him, who ends up being something inhuman and tells Mike he's marked by the Dark Ones, before vanishing into thin air. Part 4, The Darkness. Mike makes it home, though his trip from the train to his apartment is not uneventful. Some punks tried to mug him, and in a strange state following his encounter on the train, he nearly kills them before he snaps out of it and realizes what he's about to do. Now, knee-deep in booze, he sits and wallows in his apartment, wishing to forget the dark things he has seen, both today and 3 years ago. That's when someone knocks on his door. Come on, knock on my door. Ah! Sorry. Couldn't resist that.
Where the bard.
Part 5, The Friend. Mike's buddy and the school security guard, Gabe, has come over to go drinking with Mike as previously arranged. But seeing the amount of drinking Mike has been doing already and his current mental state, the old NCO puts Mike in his place and sits him down with some coffee to find out what's wrong. Mike doesn't want to ruin a friendship here, so he splits the truth a little and focuses on the mugging event and how it affected him, that he could nearly kill those kids, to which Gabe sympathizes and gives an emotional pep talk about seeking help for the clear hurting and PTSD that was caused from whatever Mike saw back in Iraq. As Gabe leaves and Mike attempts to clean himself up and his apartment before going to bed, he thinks back yet again on those events in Iraq that changed everything. Part 6 through 10, The Tale, The Cave, The Beast, The Relic, and The Fury. Quick note, this isn't a slight against the story. I'm just going to paraphrase the whole flashback, which is the last 5 parts of the story. In Iraq, 3 years ago, Mike and his platoon were urged out to the desert to a cave by Tahir, a local warlord and begrudging ally of the American outpost that Mike was in charge of. As according to Tahir, a monster lurked in the cave who had not only been snatching up children, but had also slaughtered most of Tahir's 50 men. 2 squads with Mike and his second-in-command Troy and Tahir, dragged along until confirmation of his story is found, enter the cave and find strange runes and the bodies and bones of the adults and the children. Letting Tahir go to the surface, the squad proceeds further down into the tunnels, but gets separated and lost, and Mike and his squad find the monster, a giant demonic centipede creature that wipes the floor with the soldiers and eats them. Mike manages to get away through the brave sacrifice of his men and wanders the tunnels some more before finding a strange, round, stone-like relic with inscriptions that glow. The relic seems to telepathically speak to Mike and leads him back to Troy and the second squad, and from there, hopefully the entrance. But not before the monster ambushes them and wounds Mike with a gash on his back, the scars in the present day that affected him, which appears to paralyze him. Troy attempts to drag Mike up to the entrance, but after killing the rest of the squad, the monster arrives, and while Troy attempts to defend his superior, is brutally injured and in danger of being devoured. The monster also reveals at this point that it can talk and is some kind of outer darkness creature, gloating over its next meal. But then the relic, still in Mike's clenched hand, activates a power within Mike and breaks the paralysis and allows him to blast the monster with a purifying fire. And Mike manages to take Troy's broken body back to the surface. Above ground, he blows the cave entrance and stops the demon creature from escaping. Then proceeds to have his men rescue and retreat back to the base with Troy in hand for a medical evac. But it's a trap! Tahir is there with his men, and he kills everyone and captures Mike and Troy. He reveals that he let the monster out of its cavernous prison by smudging the runes at the entrance, and made a deal with it to get rid of the Americans in his homeland. As Tahir kills Troy in front of Mike, the power of the relic goes off again, even stronger than before, and within Mike, and he unleashes a terrible purifying blast of energy that wipes out all in the base and some distance beyond the base. This knocks Mike out for a while. The military eventually recovers Mike, and when Mike tells the truth, they don't believe him, choosing a much more sane explanation and an honorable discharge to Mike with some benefits. And that's what happened 3 years ago. Epilogue: The Knock. Mike is waking up the next morning in the present when a woman and her child knock on his door asking for help and safety from something that has killed her husband. At first, he doesn't believe her, especially when they say a psychic told them to go to Mike. But they give Mike a photo of the relic he lost after Tahir's betrayal. And so Mike lets them in and proceeds to hear them out regarding their situation. But that, my friends, is for another time, as we get a cliffhanger ending for this story. Finn, for now. So, with that out of the way, I suppose we'll move on to Everyone Tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions! At this point. So, I don't know what you guys did for your notes. I went by part or by chapter for the story.
How dare you?
I also went by part, but that's mainly because I did a conjunction junction, and it's partmentalized.
Okay, so
I
are you gonna
I sectioned my notes out by every 200 words. I called that a new section.
Did you really?
You guys didn't do that?
No.
Oh,
Always thinking outside the box there, gamer.
yep.
Okay,
so do it honestly.
Sure. Okay, so I'll just go through mine by part, and yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. So part 1, the dream, nothing. Part 2, the storm. I'm gonna start with this quote here. My mind is struck dumb. Crazed gibbering crowds out all rational thought. God, my God, it's just like that time, just like that last time. Got to be a dream. Got to be, can't really be happening. I'm still unconscious on the trail from hitting my head. That's it. But this seems to be so real. What if it's not a dream? Then I have to move, have to do something. Why the fuck does this keep happening to me? Okay, so I've got to compliment that these intrusive thoughts that the character has here are separated by a spacing from the rest of the story when it happens. Even in italics for the slightest hint of difference in the font.
Yes.
That's it.
They're totally in italics.
Yes. The one thing I might encourage is like maybe have these sections also in brackets, but like it's not really necessary.
No.
Honestly, the spacing works just as well. Like works just fine for these sort of like intrusive thoughts that the character has. And then on to part 3, the monster. This part here. On the surface, other than his startling eyes, there is nothing that would make him. There is nothing that would make him stand out in a room full of derelicts. So it says roomful, but I'm pretty sure it needs which is ROOM, like room. Then compounded into room's word is FUL, like roomful. And I don't think that's a word. I think it's trying to mean like a room space full of derelicts.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And then on to part 4. Oh, but yeah.
Well, room full. As much or as many as would fit in a room.
Wait, so ROOMFUL is a word?
Yep.
Oh. Well, in that case, I learned a new word today because that just didn't seem right to me when I read it.
Yeah,
but okay. Off. It just seems weird. Like I've never heard of that word like it used like that.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. All right. Then on to part 4, the darkness. Nothing. Part 5, the friend. Nada. Part 6, the tale. Here we go. I am again going to reiterate that you should not be going in on this mission. We don't know what's down there, and you're too important to risk. So this is dialogue, but the what's down there, there should be a comma between what and s and the s, because it is what is. It's the contraction for what is down there, not what's down there.
Yeah, dialogue or not,
Apostrophe S.
it
Yeah.
still sounds the same.
Apostrophe,
So
yeah,
like,
that's right,
that is
yeah.
the way it should be.
On to part 7. Nothing. On to part 8. The Beast. Then, before I can change my mind, before I can truly think about what leaving one of my men says about me as a leader, and as a soldier, and as a man, I turn and begin making my way up the tunnel, the rumbling sound echoing and making my head pound in time to my racing pulse. So that was all one sentence, which little run on, but all right, I'll let it slide. But the big thing here for me, anyways, was I think just needs to remove one of the double as a. So like it says, like literally it says, about me as or says about me as a leader. So just need to remove one of the instances of as a between about me and leader.
Maybe he's
So.
being betrayed by Jeff
Well,
Goldblum. Doesn't he like,
As
start like that?
yeah. Life finds a way.
Well, you almost don't need a lot of the as in that.
Yeah, I mean the
Kind
other
of,
one,
but-
the other one, it's kind of like he's being more like the other ones are he's being like more like I guess expressive, or just like kind of like just more like poignant about it. It's like as a soldier and as a man, as a leader, like he's being more gravitas to it. But like that one where it seems like it's more of a stutter or like a typo stutter than it was actually supposed to be.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then on to part 9, the relic. Nothing. Part 10, the fury. Nope. Epilogue, the knock. And I'm done. So on to Mikey. The E stands for evil. Your grammar inquisition.
All right. I have a conjunction junction.
Okay.
And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
Part 1. The dream. It hurts. It was the dream again. The same dream. It burns, but that's just fine. It's cold, but that's just fine too. It's brewed in Pennsylvania. It's just a job, albeit one with a good salary and better benefits. It serves 2 purposes: pay the rent and keep me in booze. It didn't. It sets very early in the day now, and the shadows are already long. Part 2. The storm. So tired. It's coming. Its arrival and the loss of power to the building seemed too timely to be mere coincidence. Its head snaps forward, its incredible blood-red eyes fixed directly on the door, concealing me. Part 3. The monster. Or even half a ticket. And I used to call myself a soldier, but you can do, little soldier boy. Part 4. The darkness. But, like tonight, if my thoughts happen to turn to that time, to that place, to that thing, it's always surprising to me how loud gunshots really are. It must have shone in my eyes. Dre's cries quietly to soft, helpless whimpers. But they've never done that before, even with that murder a couple months ago. Part 5. The Friend. But then what in blazes did you do to yourself? It's fine. Shouldn't even need stitches. It's my house, you piece of... But right now, in your condition, you really don't have much a choice in the matter. It's obvious that Gabe isn't going anywhere, and that I'm in no position to do anything about it. But maybe a part of the truth will be enough. And I almost killed one of them. But then my gun was to his head, and I thought, just for a second, how easy it would be. And what's that? And on the flip side, that you've snuffed out the potential of another person, everything they could have ever been, gone in an instant by your hand. But I do now. And you know what I did? But in the end, it wasn't. It was facing the anger, Mike. Facing the rage and the fear. The tale. And before that, when he wanted plywood for his checkpoints that he ended up selling for a profit. It's always important with that asshole. But he says he'll only talk to you. So I figured there was at least a chance it might be worth my interest. But I would ask that you not make jokes at the expense of the dead. It's 4 hours after my conversation with Tahir, and I'm riding shotgun in my mine-resistant vehicle. Or crazy. It's twilight, the moon just starting to peek up over the horizon. But going in on half-blind intelligence, and with the insane stories Tahir's spouting, I'm not too keen facing monsters in the dark. It took me a little while to decide whether or not I was going to, but ultimately I'd rather they have an idea of what we might be up against. It's like traveling down a narrow hallway, walled with sand. It's anyone's guess what's at the other end. It is the mouth of hell itself. But here's the thing. So, I'll give you a choice. Part 7. The Cave. Its stomach has been ripped open, and huge chunks of the guts seem to be missing, almost as if something has been eating it. But the rational part, the one I've spent years training to perform under incredibly stressful situations, disagrees. But on the other hand, there's no telling where this tunnel goes, or if there are other exits the creature could use to escape if we destroy the entrance we came through. And by my estimation, the best way to do that is to shoot the fucker until it's in too many different pieces to be a threat. And I think in different circumstances, perhaps a good friend. But I'll do my best not to judge him too harshly until we find the thing that did this. It will be my absolute pleasure. But remember what we agreed to, sir. Part 8. The Beast. It resembles nothing so much as some kind of giant centipede crossed with a sea monster. The segmented sections of its body protected by a shiny carapace. Its multifaceted eyes stare at us with a keen intelligence and an almost human malevolence. It can only be the noise of the creature's passage. It will surely be coming for us next. It's no good, sir. And Troy told me about the deal he was gonna make with you before coming in here, and made me agree to back him up on it. It's like you told Cook. This thing needs killing at all costs, and that's more important than you, me, or anyone else. But you've got to make it out, sir. And one other thing, sir, for me. It's for my ex-wife and the kids. Just, if you get out, could you make sure they get it? And don't tell them what happened. It's been a pleasure serving with you, sir. Part 9. The Relic. It startles me so badly that I almost fall over backwards, inadvertently dropping the stone which falls to rest upon the tunnel floor. Or you're just losing your damn mind, Landry. It's similar to the urge that drew me this way in the first place, but it's undoubtedly stronger. It's not that I can lay out a specific path, but more resembles how a person walks a familiar route while thinking of other things. The subconscious mind takes over. And we need to get the hell out of here. And this thing, we can't stop it with anything we have on us. It's smart. It didn't know which path we were on, but knew we'd go for the entrance. It's lived down here, probably knows all the different ways through these tunnels. It circled around us to set a trap. It's different, Sergeant. It's not just an animal. It's waiting for us, and we are going to walk right into it. If we don't, it's our only chance. It hurts. Part 10. The Fury. It's Sergeant Troy, pulling me backwards up the tunnel by my body armor. Its hunt is at an end. It roars in fury and reels back slightly before recovering, whipping my platoon sergeant like a rag doll and slamming him first off one wall, then the other, again and again. Its voice is harsh, like a bandsaw cutting through metal, and sounds utterly wrong coming from such a being. So I do. Its eyes are melted and blinded by the fire, its rage the only thing driving it forward. It is moving far too quickly, gaining ground far too fast. It's over. But we have to move. Epilogue. The Knock. It's still a terrible thing to think about, but maybe Gabe was right. By facing my fears, I may eventually be able to conquer them and come to grips with what happened. It was about 2 weeks later when I woke up screaming in a military hospital in Germany. It was another 3 days before I was calm enough for the doctors to remove the restraints and crippling self-doubt. But I always came back to the dreams and the screaming and the scars. But that was never found. It's possible they simply missed it in the wreckage, or that it was somehow destroyed in the blast, but in my gut, I know that's not the case. It sounds crazy, but she contacted me out of the blue, before everything started to happen. It's a computer printout of a photo of an object lying on a table. It's grainy, but there's no mistaking the round stone about the size of a $50, smooth but for the slightly raised bump in its exact center. Finn.
But what was it? Yeah, no, that was like basically like an even like somebody like took my paraphrasing and just like and fast forward. I also liked the one part at the end is like it's like the except all I know is the scars and the screaming and the pain, but they never found it in the wreck. I was like, wait, what? It's like phantom pain or phantom scars.
Yes,
Yeah.
Also, I don't think I heard you say like that like he was this was that like the Iraq stuff was a flashback. So it kind of sounds like after he hung out with after he got him a little talk from Gabe, he went to Iraq to face his demons, and that all this is what and then so like and then 2 weeks that was 2 weeks ago from like the now at the end of the story.
Well, it also I don't think he mentioned Iraq at all, so that just all happened in the same town.
Oh yeah, fair, yeah.
Also, when he was talking with Gabe, there's stuff happening, and then all of a sudden he's talking about putting a gun to someone's head. So it kind of sounded like he was putting his gun to Gabe's head.
Yeah,
As
So
Gabe
I
was
heard
trying
that.
to talk him down.
Yep. Also, like the monster, like had like a horrible voice and like it like sounded like a bandsaw, and so I was it or I did it or something, and then it's like and the creature's eyes were burned from the fires and was letting out a horrible like roar, and it's like so it's talking is just like or it's like a high pitched like roar of pain or like it's talking through anger because like of I guess the gunfire on its eye that like killed its eyes. Because like we don't really hear anything about like the purifying flame from the relic and Mike. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
You lose a lot of context when you grab a bunch of sentences that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ands, or buts, and read them back to back for sometimes hilarious results, which is what Mikey does
Indeed.
here. There's always better
Mhm.
words to use. That being said, a lot of those were in dialogue, so like,
yeah.
That's true. Yeah.
no.
So I mean we understand like you have a quota to meet.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
you get desperate sometimes. But
Well, you wanted to get in without the dialogue?
no.
I think I have another hour to spare.
All right. Well, gamer, do we have a grammar in yellow?
A little bit.
'Kay.
Alrighty, so first one's in chapter 1. All these extra precautions might seem a bit much, but Overbrook makes up for its insanely cheap rent with an even more astounding crime and murder rate. So I'm curious if this is a flub, because earlier on it said that it was Havenbrook Prep School out of Philadelphia. Or is it so? Is this meant to be Havenbrook, or is it like the town of Overbrook, and Havenbrook is a school in Overbrook?
I took this out of my notes, but because I realized like it's probably superfluous, but I did look up like so Haverbrook doesn't exist, like the prep school.
Yeah,
As far as I could tell, as far as I like when I was looking it up, it does.
actually.
Is it Havenbrook or Haverbrook?
Haven.
Okay, Havenbrook doesn't exist. Overbrook though does.
Oh,
It is
Haverbrook, actually, I'm wrong.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, Haverbrook doesn't exist. As far as I know, it's a fictional prep school for the story. Overbrook though is a neighborhood outside like incorporated or just outside of Philadelphia.
Okay.
So like yeah, I had the same issue because like there's a couple of times like down like as I was reading, I was like, that's supposed to say Overbrook or Haverbrook? Did we just get like a typo? And then like I looked as like. No, that he's leaving Overbrook to go to Haverbrook, which is like probably like another like in a separate part because he has to take a train to get there. So he's leaving. He's leaving his apartment.
Oh my god, you're right.
Yeah.
So he lives in Overbrook
and
but-
goes to Haverbrook.
Haverbrook School, which is in a different town. They take
Or
a train to get to, unless it is in the same town.
No, well,
It's a train,
well,
not a subway or nothing. I don't know.
yeah, it's a train. So and also like it says Haverbrook is on like just like it's not actually in a town per se. It's just like kind of off a highway outside of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
So yeah, it may not even be a town or anything. It's just like the name, like the school itself, is just called Haverbrook for whatever reason.
Okay.
Like I did try looking up, like I couldn't find Haverbrook. I couldn't find Haverbrook Prep School like anywhere near Philadelphia. So best of my guess is that it's just a fictional location.
Fair enough.
Sorry, I was like, oh, I can help. I can help.
I heard your excitement.
Yes.
And thank you for that.
Mhm.
But I'll move on. These are woods from the darkest fairy tale. These are woods that are alive. And alive is capitalized for some reason?
That is odd.
Yeah, I don't know why it's capitalized.
Also, like, these are woods that are alive. That is generally the state of forests. But
Okay.
I think it is translated as like these are alive, like with like dangers or something like that. I don't know, maybe. Might also just
Or
be
with
using
the
it for
sound
like
of music.
emphasis. Yeah, the woods are alive with the sounds of screaming.
Yeah, there you go. But again, I don't know why that's capitalized. Probably shouldn't be. Moving on.
Okay.
Next one's all the way to chapter 6. I glance over at Robinson, my driver. I feel like the way that it should be laid out is that I glance over at Robinson, comma, my driver,
Yeah.
instead of Robinson, my driver.
Yeah. Well, his name is clearly Robert, my driver. Like, Robertson's his first name for some reason. My is his middle name, and driver is his last name.
Yeah, that's what it kind of felt like reading it.
Yeah.
He's weird. But moving on. I can't very well ask you to go down the scary dark monster hole if I'm not willing to, and besides, I grimace, leaving 2 men per truck, blah, 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 blah. So again, same kind of correction as before. I feel like it needs a comma in there.
Yeah.
Because it reads like if I'm not willing to, and besides, instead of down the dark scary monster hole if I'm not willing to. And besides, ellipses. You know, like comma it out and then ellipses, because he does continue his thought after that, after he grimaces.
That is true.
Mm-hmm. After he turns into a giant purple monster that likes shakes from McDonald's.
For a second, I was like, I'm sorry? Oh, the grimace. Okay.
Oddly enough, yesterday Game Grumps put in an episode of them playing some like grimace video game.
Of course.
That's
Oh,
why
we'll
that was fresh in my head.
We'll get to connective tissues time.
Oh no. Okay. But moving on. Chapter 9. The geometry is too perfect to have been formed by nature and must have been man-made. The spelling of man-made should have a dash in between.
Okay, yeah.
Just simple typo.
Mhm.
And that's it.
Okay. Well then, on to actual thoughts. So, going to start with part 1, the dream. Going to start with the image from part 1, the dream.
Okay.
Yeah, a brooding misty forest would work for the latter part of this part. But the trees are specifically referred to in the story as deciduous with fall colors,
Ooh.
not coniferous pines, which is what is shown in the photo.
Ooh.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, but they're not all gonna be that, you know.
No, but like if you look at that forest, it is all pines. There's very little deciduous trees.
But the picture's nice.
It is nice. I will grant you that. It is good. It is a nice moody picture. It's just not terribly accurate to the description of the forest from the story.
I suppose.
Yeah, but I'm gonna basically have an image segment for each part of my actual thoughts. By the way, so
Fair enough.
Okay.
but I'll continue on with my actual thoughts for part 1 here. My name is Michael Landry, and today I'm a high school history teacher at the Haverbrook Prep School on the main line outside of Philadelphia. And of course, like I said, like I actually brought up, apparently I did try and Google Haverbrook Prep School, and I did not find it. However, there is a Philadelphia.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I know. You learn something new every day, every week with this episode, with the show.
Wow. And where is Philadelphia?
I actually didn't. Is Philadelphia in Pennsylvania? I legitimately can't remember.
Wow.
Where's Philly? Yeah, yes, it is a city in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Google.
you to just say the United States. Like,
I guess
I
I
was
could
going that broad of ignorance.
Wow. Yeah. America.
Yeah.
But also with this sentence that I quoted, wait, Michael or Mike Landry? Isn't Shadow Swimmer's actual name Michael Landry? Which that's not doxing him or anything like that. Like it's in his profile on creepypasta.wiki, like when you go to like check out his other stuff and things. And also he goes by Michael Landry or Shadow Swimmer on creepypastastories.com with his works. So
Okay. Then yes.
Just to get that.
You have the answer. That's not a question. That's a statement.
So no, my answer is like, that's a bold move, Cotton. Using your own name as the name of a main character in your story. Let's see how it pans out.
He didn't die yet.
No. I just thought that was kind of funny because like it honestly didn't catch me like this quote. I actually had it like I caught it later when it's like it was referring to Mike like all the time, and then like it's like damn it Landry, and I was like wait, Mike Landry.
Yeah, I thought it sounded familiar too, but I couldn't place it, and I didn't bother googling because I
to check it. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, but yeah, like I was like, wait, I know that name, and like I checked, it's like, yeah, Shadow Swimmer's last name, like Shadow Swimmer's name is Michael Landry.
Nice.
It's a bold move, Cotton. But and I mean, like that's nothing new. Like Lovecraft and Frank Belknap Long also used like a lot of like pulp writers in the past and stuff have used themselves as the narrator, like even like actual narrator of their stories in the past, when having like characters be attacked by some kind of unnamed horror or something like that. So it's nothing like against the writer. It's just like found it funny that they made the main character in the story named after themselves, like first and last name. But
because you've never done that in any of your D&D campaigns and such.
I honestly haven't.
You've been close.
I've been very close, but I try to like come up with like a pseudonym or like something that's like similar but not exact.
Fair.
But anyway,
I am much closer than you at doing this.
Yeah, you are. Yellow Gamer.
Just out of my my laziness sometimes, or lack of creativity.
Yeah, as Gamer in Yellow plays Yellow Gamer.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Yep. But I'll move on to the next part, which is part 2, the storm. So the image again, it works as it does capture the dark locker room space that Mike found himself in this part of the story. And then I'll go on to the next the actual quote of the my actual thought here.
I actually have kind of a blanket statement to all the
images.
All the images. Did you guys find that any of them were spoilers?
Not really.
I kind of did, but like not enough to write a note about it. Like the first thing that catches your eye is the picture, even before you read any of the stuff. That being said, most of the time, when you see a picture, that stuff is happening right now, anyways. Like right at the start, so it's not a super spoiler.
I actually have a question for you guys then, because there are a couple of parts in this story that the image was broken, had a broken link for me. Was that the case for you guys as well?
No, I saw them all.
Okay, so it must have been my computer, because like I have a couple of my parts that I was unable to see the image because
send them to you.
It was part 5, 6, 7, 9, and that's it. So 5, 6, 7, and 9 were the ones that were broken for me.
Okay. Microsoft Paint ho.
Haha. Okay, so I will cut that down and hopefully make it all shorten that down so like that whole process of getting these images are not that inconvenient.
Truncated.
Truncated, yeah. But moving on to my actual thought for part 2, outside of the image. I'm going to start with this quote here. Michael, a voice cuts through my mind. So tired. Just want to lay here, ignore it. Michael, you must listen. There isn't much time. Go away. Just a voice in my head. Leave me alone. Events are in motion. The storm is only the beginning. They sent it for you. Hoped it would kill you. They know you have a role, but they can't know how important you are, or they wouldn't have stopped there. They? Who? What are you? Quiet. There's no time. We have to wait. Oh no, Michael, you need to get up. You need to get out. You need to get up and get the hell out of there. It's coming. My eyes flutter open, disoriented. Can't tell how long I've been out. So, and this whole, like, this chapter particularly, like, with this, like, him getting this weird, like voice in his head and, like, the creature stalking him and stuff like that, it was giving me serious Secret World vibes, like the Secret World, the MMO, and, like, the setting of the Secret World. Like, this could easily be a scenario where a bee, which in the game, a bee is a person who's chosen by Mother Earth or Gaia to defend it from monsters and such, is called upon to fight monsters that threaten the world. And then with the gymnasium monster scene, where a creature is stalking Michael, it could easily be like a filth monster, which in the game, a filth monster, or the filth is a creature usually of pure oozing darkness, that attacks and hunts for eldritch entities called the Dreaming Ones.
You know what I noticed just now?
Mhm. Yeah.
Bees are basically Planeteers.
Oh yeah, no, 100%. They're Captain Planet. Yeah, they're the Planeteers.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then, of course, there's the fog that rolls in after the storm, like when Mike escapes from the gymnasium. Much like the filth fog around Solomon Island in the game, The Secret World, that causes and creates monsters as well. This isn't me saying like Shadow Swimmer is pulling inspiration from The Secret World at all. Like this, it's just funny because connective tissues time.
Oh, here we go.
I have recently been looking up, or like looking over the an early raw text file of the Secret World tabletop RPG, that's coming out from Star Anvil Studios, and we'll be doing some games for One Less Die, our sister podcast. Plug. And then I go and read this story, and I was like, oh yeah, this is super Secret World fodder. Like, it could, like, to me, this could easily be something from the Secret World.
Yeah.
So yeah, my connective tissues time is just like, of course. It might just be my brain, like, just connecting two things that I just happen to be reading at the same time. But it's been happening too often this year. So
yeah, it's like the entire year.
Yeah.
Strange.
Mm-hmm. But I'll move on to my continuing with my actual thoughts with part 3, the monster. So the image, it's the inside of a train car. So it kind of pretty much just sets up the setting or the scene for this part. Although my one thing is like the image itself, it seems like it's when I was thinking of the train, I was thinking of a more modern train that is a little bit more spacious. And this thing is like this one is almost like a school bus kind of train car where like there's not a lot of room. But
I guess.
Yeah.
For me, that's the one that I first got a quote unquote spoiler on. Because at the end of the last one, he said he's going to try to get to the train and he's going to like hoof it and just run. And then the next one starts and immediately there's a picture of the inside of the train car. So I'm like, okay. Without even reading, I know he's going to make it there. That being said, there was no struggle to get there. He just made it there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it was just a transitionary thing.
Whether I looked at the picture or read the first sentence, I would have gotten the same reaction. Yes, he made it. So yeah, it's not really a spoiler.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like superfluous, but yeah. But then I'm going to go with this thing here, and I'm going to try my best, guys. Beals is knowing, saying that those who can do and those who can't teach. But you can do, little soldier boy. Little soldier boy can do, and little soldier boy will do if Beals would let little soldier boy do. Teaching of histories, you thinks you teaching. Histories of men, but not histories, not right histories. And little soldier boy, not one to teach them. Little soldier boy, one to being doing things. Little soldier boys being doing if Beals being letting him, but Beals not supposed to being letting him. No, Beals not sure if Beals supposed to not being letting him if little soldier boy not being has it. Little soldier boy, the one supposed to being has it, but something being wrong. Supposed to being here, but being not, but being here not. Where being it, little soldier boy. Man, Beals' dialogue is a tad of a tongue twister.
A little bit.
That, though, for me, it works for something that is not entirely human trying to communicate with a human.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't hate it at all. But it was just like, I was like reading it, and then by the time I got to the end, I visualized the dark helmet as like, everybody got that?
Yeah, pretty much.
And it even like, I think like a sentence or two later, straight up, Mike is like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. I was like, you're ditto, Mike.
He is the reader surrogate.
Yeah. Also, Beals is interesting because like the name of it, because it's like, I wonder if it's short for Beelzebub, the demon from demonology, like the Prince of Flies, since he's kind of got like a, not a bug motif, but he's like definitely got like a demonic sort of nature to him, or like maybe even just an abyssal kind of nature to him.
I mean, there were literally flies around him constantly.
Yeah, you're right. There were big, yeah, and he was like just this disgusting, like caked up like appearance. So yeah, it kind of like generally like when people give Beelzebub a human form, it's usually this like kind of disgusting slob of a human.
Oh, there you go.
So
also his dialogue, I absolutely read it all like Gollum.
Yeah, right.
It is so Gollum.
Also, just like there's some of it's just like, huh?
It was a struggle, but I get it.
Yeah, like it took some time to figure that out. Yeah.
Yes, and that's not to say it's written poorly or incorrectly.
No,
that's the way the character talks. That's
exactly
the most genuine time I've ever said that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I actually have a little bit thing in a later part that kind of helps strengthen my idea, or my my overall comment on like the dialogue choice, like the choice of using dialogue like accents and like characterization with the dialogue in the story. But I'll get to it in a bit. Sorry, Mikey, did you want to say something or?
No.
Okay.
Gamer got it with the Golem mention.
Oh,
yeah. Beals is knowing the precious.
Yeah,
has it, soldier boy.
It's talking in first person.
Yeah,
really hammer that home.
Golem is knowing, saying that those who can do and those who can't teach.
Doesn't he call himself Smeagol?
Later on, he calls himself Golem and Smeagol, kind of intermittently. He also calls himself Precious, like. So
fair.
Yeah,
it has been a hot minute since I've seen that.
Fair. And moving on to part 4, the darkness. The only thing I have here is the image shows a back alley, like where the muggers confront Mike in the story, which is fine. Though I could have used a little bit more fog, since apparently like the fog was like a lot, like really thick during this confrontation as well.
Yeah,
like it followed him home, or it followed him home basically. But then I move on to part 5, the friend. And so the image for part 5 is a house. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't actually think it was going to be a house, like his apartment. I thought it was like maybe just because like I must have like maybe misread something. But it definitely, like, to me, when I visualized his apartment, I visualized like an apartment in like an apartment complex, not
I did too, honestly.
Yeah.
I don't know why though. Maybe just because he was saying it's a bad neighborhood, so I didn't assume full on house.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, sorry.
I assumed house because of picture. So
yeah, and I didn't have that visual because that link was broken for me. So, but yeah, I also like it does kind of make sense because from what I quickly read in the Wikipedia for Overbrook, it is like one of the older neighborhoods of outside, like in and around Philadelphia. So like it's probably like a lot of older buildings and stuff that have been turned into apartments. So, but I'll move on to the next thing here, which is in the same part. This is when Gabe is talking to Mike. Mike, you remember how I told you about Billy dying? Well, there's a part of that story I maybe sort of held back a little. Now, don't be getting all bent out of shape. I don't know you. I didn't know you as well back then, but I do now. He shifts in the camp chair, pausing as if to collect his thoughts before continuing. I found him, Mike. I found that son of a bitch that killed my boy. Wasn't hard. Went to a few places cops are reluctant to go. Spread a little cash, a few ass kickings. Those fucking animals will sell out their own for almost nothing. And then it keeps going and like stuff. I just want to take a moment here and address the amount of accents and characterization that Shadow Swimmer uses to bring these characters to life around Mike.
Yeah.
And I'm like, again, not a jab or anything. I'm for it. It is awesome.
Yeah, and use good descriptors to describe how the accent sounds right off the bat by comparing it to like Sam Elliott and such.
Yeah, like even Tahir, who like is an Iraqi character, but he speaks like fluent English, and like it's revealed that like he could speak fluent English, but you could hear just a hint of a little bit of an accent, and so it's like not like a super offensive like stereotype of the accent. It's just, but like it's there, and like you can especially as he continues talking, you can kind of get little glimpses of it, and it's like of like his native his native language kind of or his native accent kind of creeping into his fluent English, and it just works. Mm-hmm. So I really liked the way the dialogue captures, like fleshes out these characters for the reader. Even if sometimes it was like I was like definitely like slowing down my reading during these segments just so I could like, because I was actually read most of the story out loud, and just like to hear it and stuff like that. And I definitely caught myself like slowing down to like properly like read these lines as the character.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really enjoyed it. Then we move on to part 6, the tale. So the image is the cave, which it works again, just like a nice set, like showing the setup for what's to come. Then we move on to part 7, which again, the image is a tunnel, a round tunnel, which again captures what we were expecting the for the setting or for the set dressing. And then we go to part 8, which is the image of the creature itself. And it's a cool depiction of the monster. It's illustrated and stuff like that. And it pretty well captured what I was visualizing. There's a few tweaks to my own like mental visual that I would have gone with. Like I think I would have gone with a more of like a long centipede, like serpentine like centipede thing. Whereas like in this one, it almost looks like more of like a lot. It has like a shorter body than I thought it would, unless like part of that is missing in the background there.
I was gonna say, can you see the whole body?
Yeah, no, it's sort of like, to me, it kind of almost looks like a shrimp or like a lobster like kind of length rather than a centipede. But
yeah, the end of it looks like it's just going through like that. Like that's not the end of it, you know.
Yeah, that's true. It could just be fading off into the distance.
But like if it was a centipede, it would continue having legs all the way down its length, right?
Yeah. Also, the way it describes the 2 tentacles that like kind of come off of its chest or underneath it, like squid tentacles, which are like those, because squids are different from octopuses where they don't have like evenly dispersed like tentacles. They have 2 very long prehensile tentacles, and then they have smaller tentacles for like locomotion and such.
I did not
and for
know
grabbing and stuff. Yeah. That's why, like, especially in like in games like Splatoon, that's why like or even like in when they're like that's why like their hair tentacles when they're kids and not squids, they have like those kind of like bangs on either side of their head.
Oh, okay.
That's actually the grasping, like the longer grasping tentacles of a squid, and such. But
that's neat.
Yeah. But yeah, I could have used those kind of depicted in the story or in the image, because I don't think you really see them in the image. Even though they're the ones that do the most damage, like just grab a guy's neck, grab a guy's like torso, and just like split
They're kind of
a couple
the
of
only
times.
things that do anything.
Yeah, really. Yeah. Well, I mean, the
He
maw
got slashed by the legs like when it broke through the wall, but most of the kills were done with tentacles. I believe.
Well, actually, I think Barnes gets like just chomped.
Yeah.
Like he just gets chomped and then just starts pulling the trigger on the saw. So, yeah, that was like again, like the combat scenes were pretty good in this game, or in this game. It kind of felt like a game, honestly. Like, kind of felt like I was playing a little Call of Duty, or like some kind of a game where you're playing as like military. Like, it felt a little EDF. I was like halfway through my words, I was like, oh, that's definitely just EDF I'm describing.
Yeah.
Especially with like a giant centipede monster.
Which is the best worst video game ever.
Yes. This also kind of reminds me of Jericho, or Clive Barker's Jericho by Clive Barker.
Yep.
The one where you play as like Spec Ops like supernatural military unit that goes into like a Middle Eastern like ruins and fight like crusade, like old Revenant Templar and other like supernatural monsters that are buried underneath. But yeah, so that's it for me for part 8. Moving on to part 9. So the image is the indentation of like a ring and like a circle within a circle kind of indentation that's on the relic that's described. And okay, so I'm guessing like that's just basically like the focal point for the outlet of the energy that it produces in people. Like the actual relic. Like that's how I think it was described. Like it basically like the energy, the flames are coming from that circle. Yeah. It also doesn't like really give too much away. Like it just shows us a symbol that's on the relic itself. It doesn't like, it's not like it's giving us like showing us the relic itself. So, and then we move on to the Fury, which the image is, I mean, it's a blast of fire. Pretty well illustrates the purifying fire blast that Mike emits from using the relic, like both times. One could say he fired, he didn't miss. Then he fired again, and everything died. And he passed out, woke up in a hospital in Germany with a pasta stick in his mouth.
He really did. You're right.
Also, while I'm here, I want to say that while each part does capture the sense of this part with its title, like like the title is always, it does always kind of, it does fit the chapter or part that it's a title to. This one in particular, the Fury, for me anyway, when I was reading it, it kind of like I was kind of seeing multiple facets of Fury in this, like the fury of the soldiers dying and fighting again and trying to protect their superior, the fury of Mike, the fury of the monster, the fury of the relic. Like, so it's like almost like both metaphorical fury and literal fury and emotional fury, like all kind of rolled into different aspects of fury in this part. So, and like the other ones give like basically like throughout those parts, like you see like the tail, it's the cave, the beast, the relic, the darkness, all that stuff. But it's usually like just the one specific facet that it's trying to get across in that part. Whereas this one, the Fury, is like there's multiple types of examples of fury in this part. So, I just really appreciated that. Like I kind of liked that. Then we're going to go with the next quote I have here. He strokes Troy's head, pulling it back by the hair and baring his neck. Had the Ifrit managed to end your pathetic existence, I would never have had to resort to these more direct methods. With his other hand, he removes a large kukri knife from his belt. So, I had an inkling going into the story that the creature that we were going to be dealing with was probably somehow tied to the jinn, which, I mean, it's in the Middle East. One of the big folkloric entities in that area are the jinn. Like it's usually either jinn or you're dealing with ghouls, since that's where the term ghoul originates as well. And when we get it mentioned, like Ifrit, which Ifrit is strongly tied to jinn. In fact, it's like a sort of like a stronger version or like a stronger species of jinn or spirit overall in the folklore. It sort of cemented that in my mind that this was in fact some kind of demonic spirit, or that these creatures that are stalking Mike are some kind of like demonic things from hell or something like that. Or that it is the term Ifrit is simply a term from the culture that Tahir is from, and it's used, and he's using it to attribute to an eldritch entity buried beneath the sands. That isn't actually it isn't actually an Ifrit, but it's the best word for it in that culture. Especially when the creature, when we get this part earlier on in this chapter, the creature starts to speak. Its voice is harsh, like a bandsaw cutting through metal, and sounds utterly wrong coming from such a being. Despite that, I have no problem interpreting his words. Foolish mortal, you would stand against the otherborn of the outer dark. We would have ruled this world since... we who have ruled this world since time immemorial. You throw your shallow life away, but fear not, your sacrifice is not in vain.
I cast Scorching Ray.
Indeed. Indeed. My eyes, the burning, it doesn't...
Yeah. That guy's monologue.
Yeah.
Yeah, jump on initiative.
Yeah. As I was saying, indeed, this one hungers. Your misguided courage will be most satisfying. Your loyalty most savory. Take pride, little morsel, in the sustenance you give your master. So, and then, yeah, Scorching Ray. Or
Burning Hands?
I would even say it's like, not to reference a One Less Die thing, but like it would definitely be something where like Captain Solanum, his character would like combine Smite and Scorching Ray and Burning Hands all together in one like
much.
Omni Blast or Omni Attack. But yeah, so now, yeah, so getting to this, like saying so this description, this thing's speech, this little like monologue it has. This could still be referencing the Jinn or the Ifrit of the cultural lore, since in some of the folklore and the scriptures and such like that, Jinn were actually the other creation of God, parallel to humans. Like God created humans, but he also created Jinn. So like the other born of the outer dark, because I think Jinn are just like kind of a darker, or like they're not evil, they're not good. There are good ones and there are evil ones, but like they're just basically on the same level as humans in folklore and such.
Mm-hmm.
But just the fact that it uses like the other born, it's like, oh, so it's like kind of referencing the Jinn as creation of God next to humans. And I mean, like, that's fine. But I do love my eldritch horror getting flavored or trapped or trappinged with the local culture that has that now resides above it, where it now slumbers. Like this sort of the cultural group naming the unnameable horror that lurks beneath. It's very like mythosy to me.
Mm-hmm.
So like this creature, like it also does like this creature is like wholly alien in its appearance, but it could also be demonic. So it's like sort of like a double-edged blade. Like it could be like something eldritch that's just being referred to as an Ifrit, or it could actually be what an Ifrit is in the story. Yeah. So could be so basically like something from the folklore, or something more eldritch, or both. Porque las dos.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll move on to the epilogue, the knock. So the image here, yeah, you know what? This one captures the feeling of a new day and a new beginning for Mike to me. Like it's an image of sun beaming through a window in a room, and it sort of fits the theme of this chapter, this little epilogue, because it's like he's waking up fresh from the dream after having that flashback, and he's like picking himself back up, and then this new thing happens where like this woman is asking for his help, and so it's like basically a new beginning for Mike after the darkness. So I think it fits. And even literally I think it's even described literally in the story, like sun is beaming through into his apartment from the window. So it's both a literal and figurative ray of sunshine, or new dawn kind of thing. But and then we get to the my actual quote for this section. Thank you so much, Mr. Landry. I was afraid you wouldn't believe me. I sigh. Ma'am, I have a feeling the fear hasn't even started yet. Let's let you put the kid down and get you a chair and some coffee. Then you can tell me what's happened from the beginning. ... Credits. God damn it! A cliffhanger like that? Well, here's hoping this story continues in the next Wicker Saga story, or like another one down the road. Like we actually find out about this character and like their predicament and stuff like that. Like I kind of I want to know more, but I want to like follow Mike's like journey from here too.
I mean, we're being told so much already. Like at this point, we have to know everything.
Yeah, exactly. Like this, this was like honestly, I really enjoyed how like this was kind of a like an origin story for Mike, basically. Like that we get like the full lowdown of his situation up to this point. So yeah, I gotta say here at the end, I wasn't expecting the. Also regarding the story itself as a whole, at this point, I wasn't expecting the turn from the present day in the first. So like in the first 5 chapters or parts. It was like all set in the modern day and kind of like having this creature attack and or stalk Mike and stuff like that until he gets home. And then after he's done talking to Gabe, we then get another 5 chapters of a flashback. I wasn't expecting the flashback to be like the rest of the story, basically.
Yeah, I thought it'd just be one and done.
Like, but don't get me wrong, I'm for it because like that like was really well to me. It was like it took its time to actually build the narrative of what happened 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So it like all came full circle. Like we got like all the context we needed by the end of the story, of the flashback. And now I want to know more because I'm a Disney princess and I want to like it ends on a cliffhanger. It's like, but what you can't just end it all like that. So yeah, I was here for it basically throughout most of the story. Like through most of the story, I was like, I am here for this. Like it's a long read. It chalks in about 45 pages, but man, is it enjoyable. At least for me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, that's the end of my actual thoughts. So Mikey, D stands for evil.
All right. Well, you're gonna hate me.
I'm sure I am.
Because well, I just found my second set of notes, and I have something that's technically a grammar inquisition. So
I hate you.
You're right.
God damn it! All
All
right.
expects the second coming of the
No one expects the second Inquisition.
Yeah.
So I got a couple of quotes here.
Okay.
November air, grabbed my thermos, throw yesterday's graded quizzes into my valet, and head to the door. Keeping the coffee and the valet under my arms and the sandwich in my mouth, I punch in the 6-digit code to my state-of-the-art security system. So, my issue is that I would have liked it to say valet bag, because when I just read valet, I assumed he had someone helping him park his car.
No,
Yeah,
he's
and
holding.
then he
He's
picked up the
carrying a
valet and held him
Yeah.
under his arm
Yeah.
and carried him around.
Yeah. I honestly did not realize that valet wasn't anything other than the guy that takes cars and parks them.
Yeah, me too. I had to spend like 20, 30 minutes just Googling and like asking my dad shit. Like, what the fuck is this? What do I search for?
Yeah, so yeah, maybe valet bag, like adding bag might help clarify that a little bit. But
Yeah, the first thing that came up
Yeah.
was like a little leather like dish called a valet tray that you like throw your keys and shit in, like all your pocket
Yeah.
stuff to keep it like in one spot. But
Yeah.
then through additional Googling, valet leather bag comes up with like a messenger style bag.
so why didn't he just use messenger bag?
Yeah.
Or like portfolio bag, or just like I put it all in my school my work portfolio kind of thing or something. I don't know. Yeah, I've
There are
never.
better
I don't.
options for sure.
I'm thinking back on my college years and like I'm racking my brain for memories of like did I ever hear like my school bag or like my like the little like not briefcase but like little like the laptop bag that I used for school and stuff, was it ever referred to as a valet bag?
Depends
Like,
if you
that's
had a valet bag or not.
Maybe.
I
I don't
think
know.
it's like a specific type of bag.
I guess, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's like what
so
you would
it's-
see Indiana Jones put paperwork in.
Yeah, or documents and stuff.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
documents
yeah.
are paperwork, bro.
I know. I just you said paperwork. That's like documents sounded cooler.
Okay.
In my head. I'm sorry.
Fair enough.
But continue, Mikey.
All right. So, my next thought here, and I have a quote: sounding like a cross between Sam Elliott and Ernie McDermott.
I know one.
Yeah.
I do only know one of those voices.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't know either of the voices, and I tried googling, and I couldn't, for the life of me, find their voices.
Oh,
So
really?
that
Find a single
really didn't
reference
help
to
me.
Sam Elliott.
Sam Elliott is literally the voice of a car company. Or a truck company? What the hell is Ram? Dodge? Or is it Ram?
Well, it's a yeah.
It's because like he narrate like I've definitely like there's like in the last couple of years like he's been the voice of I think Built for Tough or something like that, like
yeah.
one of those ones. Or he's also like basically he's from Tombstone, like he's like the ultimate like old cowboy actor.
He's the dude with the
Yeah.
big bushy mustache.
Yeah,
I haven't watched Tombstone, so that's
we need to change that. That's it, Gamer. We're going over to Mikey's lair. We're watching
Hell yeah.
Tombstone.
Hmm.
But before we do that, let's continue.
So, my next thing is I was wondering if there was going to be foreshadowing because of this quote. The official seal is carved into the peak of the entryway arch. Its motto, Mens Corpus Animus, proudly emblazoned beneath. To which I'm like, is this story going to be about animated corpses? AKA zombies? And then we didn't get zombies.
No, we got demon creatures or the spawn of eldritch horrors, maybe.
Yeah. Alright.
And when I saw that listing, I'm like, obligatory Warframe reference here. The Corpus are an enemy faction in that game. Moving on.
Yeah.
Alright. So, the next thing, when we get in part 2, when we get the monster in the school, we don't get a very good description of it, other than it's tall, and as I watch, it raises its head as if sniffing the air. And just the descriptions made me think Jurassic Park and a Utah raptor.
Yeah. It did kind of come off as like the beat, like it's like a bipedal, but it's also like very like, dinosaur-y.
Yeah, that was my visual until we get to part 3, and then we get the quote, God, he and that monster aren't connected. They're the same fucking thing. Twitch my replies, so no Utah raptor? Boo.
Well, it could have been a Utah raptor like form because it does shape change.
Yeah.
It is capable
Yeah.
of shape changing. So it could have been a Utah raptor like monster in the gymnasium hunting him.
I'd say it's more of like a Pennsylvania raptor at that point.
I hate you. I hate you so much. Get out.
Okay.
No, don't.
Get that sound effect ready to go.
Yeah.
All right.
He's gone. Thank God.
All right. And okay, here's something that's going to jump around a little bit. So in part 4, he says, or the quote is, "It's always surprising to me how loud gunshots really are." And then later in the story, they're in an enclosed cave shooting rifles, and nobody's
Yeah.
deaf.
Well,
They
in the
would have
military,
ear protection.
yeah, I was gonna say, like, in the military, like that is like they do have ear protection for shooting and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, you're in an enclosed cave, so it's even louder than normal.
But
Um,
again, they're not unprotected though.
yeah, they're part of the U.S. government, man. Like that massive military industrial complex is top of the line gear. Like, hence why they have night vision goggles.
Like a buddy of ours has earphones for like his phone that have like noise canceling stuff for loud noises that you could use as ear protection. So like we could easily buy them. So the government absolutely has.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just it would have been nice to mention ear protection or something.
Honestly, you're not wrong. Like when
You're
it
not
mentions, I
wrong.
forgot how loud it is. Then it could be like, thank God we have ear protection at least.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah,
when
and
it
even,
mentions
like,
it, he's like shooting out in the street, right? Not in the cave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
at that point, no, he did not have ear protection, and you're right.
No.
But
But
all the
and
cave
in the
shit.
cave, yeah, and in the cave, it could have also like
Mhm.
it's like, well, we can't like it's like even with our ear protection, I can't, even though I can't hear the creature fully, I can feel it. It's like its vibrations because it's that big. So you could have that, I suppose.
Pretty much. Also, I don't know everything 100% in regards to ear protection and how it works. But if
Yeah,
it's like
neither do
noise
I.
canceling stuff, it doesn't make you deaf. Like
Okay, I know I wasn't sure either. So like I don't know.
if it is like
it would be,
electronically controlled ear protection,
yeah.
then as a loud sound comes in, it gets triggered and blocks all sound that goes to you for that
that's
split
interesting.
second. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I don't know how high tech. Like again, like I mean, it's
I don't
the
even know what
the
year
American
this takes
military.
place in.
Well, it takes place in like three. Well, yeah, whenever the story was written. Honestly,
You don't
that's
know that.
100%. No, that is 100% accurate. Like it could be in the early 2000s, or it could be the Gulf War, which was in the 90s. So,
Yeah.
because it's like they're in Iraq, so it's either in the early 2000s or it's in the early 90s.
Pretty much.
Mhm.
Either way.
Yeah.
I think we beat that horse enough.
I think so. Hang on. All right, good. We are now enemies with PETA.
All right.
Sorry.
Everyone is though, so it's fine.
So my next quote here is about the relic itself. So I'll take a quote from the epilogue. "It's grainy, but there's no mistaking the round stone about the size of a $half, smooth, but for the slightly raised bump in its exact center." And then I have the quote from earlier, which says, "Immediately upon leaving my hand, the markings fade away, the stone laying on the ground like any normal piece of rock."
Okay,
So
gotta stop.
it
Yeah, continue. Sorry.
so it looks like a normal piece of rock on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's in his hand and he looks at it, upon closer inspection, I see the same type of symbols that have been etched along its outer circumference. So
That's in the photo.
No.
Okay.
No, that's when he has it in his hand in the cave.
Gotcha.
So when he has it in his hand in the cave, it has symbols. When he drops it in the cave, it just looks like a normal rock.
Yeah.
So how does he know when there's a grainy picture?
it's not the
That
inscription.
there's no mistaking the round stone as the relic.
Because
Okay,
the
so-
picture could probably just. Here's the problem: the picture isn't described well enough. If the
Hmm.
picture was the relic being held in someone's hand, then the lights would be on.
Well, maybe depends if it has to be the chosen one or something or not. But yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's not saying that the inscriptions are on the photo because like the inscriptions do fade away. The dimple though, like that indentation on the rock stays there though. It's just the inscriptions glow because of its contact with a person.
Mm-hmm.
So like those go away, but the indentations like of the that eye or that circle on the stone, like that would still be there because it's actually like built into the rock itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But lying on the ground, it looks like any normal rock.
Well, yeah, because it would, because like when it drops off somebody's like out of somebody's hand, the glowing parts fade away and it just looks like a rock. Like even that indentation, that's what rocks
saying.
have.
He's saying
Okay.
through a grainy photo of it, if it's not being held by anyone, it would just look like a normal grainy rock,
Okay, fair.
right?
Yeah, so how do we know that it's in fact the relic? Yeah.
Narrative convenience.
Or like,
The
what are the
plot?
odds that
Yeah.
this lady happens to just here's a picture of a rock and
That
knew
looks-
that
yeah.
was something to do with it, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because she knew to give him a picture of a rock, she knows the context and knows what it is.
I suppose, but that's still reaching.
A little bit.
we're dealing with a story where there's like demons chasing after this guy after he fought a giant fuck you centipede in an Iraqi cave. So like my suspension of disbelief is still suspended.
I feel like it would be better if she actually gave him the relic or something.
You know what? That is true. If he'd actually given, honestly, that would have worked for me as well.
I don't think
I
she'd be
will-
able to slide that underneath the door, though.
I can't. Oh, can you just like slowly? Oh, can you just open the door a crack so I can give you this?
She could
Or-
hold it up.
Or wait, yeah, or like the guy has a peephole.
That's
Show
what
it
I'm
to the
saying.
people. Yeah,
Yeah, hold it up to the people with her holding it, showing that the runes are glowing.
Mhm.
There's ways to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's the end of my actual thoughts.
okay. Gamer, you're up.
I is. Okay. So, very first line. I can hear the screams of men and gunfire. I can smell their fear. They know something is in the dark, something strange, something menacing and very, very hungry. So, is it just me, or like, did that first line cue up like the Doom music, just like reading that? Because it's kind of
Yeah.
like akin to the narrator guy talking up the Doom Slayer in the more recent games.
Rip and tear until it is done.
Yeah, that dude.
Yeah.
Chapter 2. Was I struck by lightning? Don't remember hearing any thunder. So what the hell? So with him being at ground zero to a lightning strike, if that is indeed what happened,
Yeah.
he would technically hear the thunder right away, but that being said, if the strike zapped him and KO'd him, it's possible to just knock him out before the chance to hear anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like you have more pressing things to deal with than your body hearing that thunder.
Yeah.
But I think it's more just like because like the supernatural thing or something, that scar now like kind of like is like a warning sign that something dangerous is near.
Oh,
At least
I
that's
know.
how I interpret it.
Yeah, of course. But like in his mindset, I was trying to see if it made sense really. But again, he's just trying to rationalize something that he can't really rationalize.
That's true. Yeah.
Although in hindsight, after reading the whole story, he should know.
Well, maybe this is the first time that's actually like reacted like this.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then I'll move on. The storm continues unabated. Bathtubs of freezing rain continue to drench my shivering body. It's an interesting way to describe a unit of measure. I'll
Yeah.
say that. Like, I
Like,
wouldn't
just
say it's wrong or anything. That's why this isn't in my grammar. It's just an odd choice.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I was like, there was a moment of concern when I read that. I was like, I really hope my co-hosts aren't going to like. It's like, well, really, bathtubs stuff raining down on people. It's like, you guys are just like, what's the word? Like, conditioned me to think the worst of you when it comes to like grammar, to like literalism in these stories.
How dare you? How dare you think that I would say
Am I
something
wrong?
like that? I'm going to not continue reading the rest of this note and move on to the next one.
Really?
I mean, I don't go huge into it. I basically say, like, I would have went with gallons myself to avoid the silly visual of a line of tubs in the sky dumping water onto this guy as he runs.
Oh, you visual like the levitating, like dumping water. I was visual like, I'm not gonna lie, my go-to visual before I like, all right, silly aside to the actual story, but that one split second of silliness in my mind was just like, just bathtubs filled with water falling from the sky like rain.
Like the entire bathtub is falling to the ground. Oh, okay, I did not see that.
that was for a split second. That's what my visual was, and I was like, no, that's not right.
It's like bathtub grenades, water bombs.
Yeah.
Wow. Look who's the silly one now.
I learned it from watching you.
Good. Okay.
Okay. On. Yes.
I urge my wooden legs to greater efforts and blessedly make it to my destination. This is in regards to him running away.
Yeah.
So I'm unsure if this is meant to be literal or not, as if he possibly lost both of his legs in his last deployment, because he's an ex-soldier.
That's true, yeah.
And at this point, I didn't really know the time frame. I'm sure, like, before they did, like, carbon fiber and metals and stuff for prosthetics, it would have been wood.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I get it. It's being used to describe his legs as, like, wobbly or stiff because they're injured.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like limbs like noodles. Yeah. Like, just like you have they're just deadened because of like exhaustion or like because of injury or something.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
But I shall move on to chapter 3, when the homeless monster dude grabbed Mike. I don't have a direct quote here, but it kind of seems like he being Michael, takes a long ass time recalling and thinking about several things in the moment. The moment being when the creature comes up and like pins him to the chair and just stares at him for like 2 or 3 paragraphs. He's just like describing stuff like without anything happening in real time. Because like, yes, I get that the brain functions quickly and like, but it got to a point where I was like, okay, this is taking too long before the creature does anything. And then at that point, Michael proceeds to describe a couple more things even after that. It's like 2 paragraphs of description of several different things.
Which is funny because most of the time we like berate stories for like not taking the time to describe things because you have all the time in the world as a writer in your moments. But like now it's like, though. There's a fine line. It's enjoyable, but like at the same time, it's like he's like just like inner monologuing. It's like are you okay, dude? Like you're just staring into space. Like
he is also like paralyzed in fear at this point too.
Yeah, it's like, Beals is feeling uncomfortable right now with little soldier boy. Mm-hmm. Little soldier boy just staring into Beals' brain, into Beals' eyes. Most unsettling.
What might have worked better for me is if so Beals goes on a big spiel. It's a Beals spiel, right?
Yeah, experience Beals.
Experience Beals.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It has to be mentioned. But like he does a lot of talking. Not that he shouldn't do a lot of talking, because it's great, and I love understanding him 100%. But it would be good to break it up with like he says something, and then Mike describes something, and then he says something, and then he describes something. So it's not a huge block of description followed by a huge block of words. You can kind of mix it up so it kind of feels like it's flowing naturally.
Yeah, fair.
But that's my opinion. I didn't hate it one way or another because obviously I still like the story, but yeah, I should move on. And then just in regards to Beals's like exposition dump, I feel like it was a bit much for a creature who like seems to have a loose grip on the English language. Like it sure loved to talk, you know.
Yeah.
And like with all that exposition dump, we know that Beals is tasked with getting Michael, but only when he has a certain thing, that Michael shouldn't do anything that he's trained to do, and that the attack from the past marked him so Beals can track him.
I just realized that the thing he's looking for is the fucking relic. Me too. It just dawned on me.
Yeah, samesies. Me
Wow.
too.
Most of me. Hey, it was a long story. I kind of forgot why Beals was there, aside from mocking Mike that he was marked by the Dark Ones.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, I figured that one out, so I
Well,
don't feel
good.
Well,
for
you're smarter
you.
than both of us, I guess.
Yeah. Congrats! I'm happy for you.
We already knew that, but fine. But yeah, basically, like all that information that he just got dumped on him could have been explained through the story.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, Beals is here to tell you a whole bunch of padding to fill out the story a little bit more, so you know more. Even though like he shouldn't be telling him these things because it's helping Mike understand what is going on and what to do to combat this, even though he doesn't do any of that. Yeah, it's weird that he's trying to help. Meanwhile, he's just there to get him and steal something off him.
Yeah, but he doesn't have the thing, so Beals is like, shit.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't just go like, "Oh, you don't have it? Okay, bye." Punches him in the face and runs away.
Or just evaporates into flies.
Yeah, or does something to like make him forget or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
because he is God knows what. But I will move on to chapter 4. I have been home for 2 hours. I am unbelievably drunk. I dropped the empty bottle from my hand to join its relatives on the floor. From the look of things, it's a family reunion. Attendance is high. That's a fun description for that.
Really is. I love it.
But upon reading that, I'm like, I don't know if drinking would have been his first choice. Because like he was just going home to like arm up and prep himself after dealing with Beals. And then immediately he's drinking. Later on,
well, this
is after the fact.
Yeah.
Because it's told not directly in order, but at the time I was confused.
Yeah. Because like it says, like that is a coping mechanism to try and like forget. If you see something, say nothing and drink to forget.
Sure. But I'll move on.
Yeah.
So he talks about his struggle with the robbers. Mm-hmm. And it's like, let's see what you got in the bag, man. See if you got some money on you.
Oh my god.
Tio started to remove the valet strap from my shoulder. There we go. It has a strap on it. Yeah. We know more about the valet.
I'm sorry, George. I have to hand you to these people. He's okay.
A moment later, he was sitting down on the ground, hand clamped to his mouth, blood seeping through his fingers. One of his teeth lay next to him on the wet pavement. I stared at him in surprise, looking down at my own hand, knuckles bleeding. I realized I'd hit him as the Doom music kicked in. Like, back to Doom again. Because like this section specifically, the events that follow, pretty accurate because he just kind of deals with them real quick.
Yeah, he just kind of goes into like onto autopilot, like, and just like his training and like his like the years of being a soldier just kind of kick in.
I wonder if it is fully that, or if it is partially like some like fuckery with the relic that happened to him.
Yeah, the relic, or maybe even Beals or the fog or something. Because the fog seems like it's some kind of
messed with him. God knows what's actually happening.
It's like, he's just being spiritually pulled apart by like 3 or 4 different things.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
After this is all said and done with the robbers, he just leaves Dre's handgun on the street for anyone to use
across the street. So yeah, like some random like kids gonna like, oh, cool.
Yeah,
Like,
no. He should have either
that's
taken it
no good.
or like taken the bullets out of it and given Dre back the empty gun. Maybe like with Michael like keeping taking the slide off the gun so he can't like load up and fire at him or like hurt
Yeah.
anyone else. He has to go buy a new slide before he can use the gun again.
Yeah.
Because if he takes the gun, then he has a stolen gun on him.
Yeah.
That he would get in trouble for. But if he just disassembles it, then he can't use the gun, and Mike doesn't have a full gun to have a problem with the authorities with. That's like the safest option, I would think.
Yeah.
But yeah. Move on to chapter 5. This is the friend one, I believe, right?
The friend.
Yeah. I like the light mix of comedy mixed into like this serious and very intense scene. Because like the drunk speech mixed with some like light banter between them did soften it a little bit, but it doesn't like overtake it to make it silly. Like it's a good and natural way. How that would actually go down.
Yeah.
And,
And
like,
then
this whole part shows like how good of a guy that Gabe is.
yeah. That
was
emotional
like-
pep talk was so good.
Yeah, it's damn near a tearjerker, honestly, with like
Like
Gabe
Yeah.
like talking about his past and everything.
yeah, like two very like macho men having a heart to heart. Like and actually like sharing their like what?
It's like, ooh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And now Gabe will be played by the late Macho Man Randy Savage
Yeah.
with a Texan accent because like that's kind of what that accent reminded me of. Is like
Go ahead and try that.
I need a line. Hang on.
Snap into a Slim
Goddamn.
Jim.
Well, snap into a Slim Jim there.
Well, I got the Texan part, but where's the Macho Man part of that? You have to combine them both.
Well, they're snapping to a Slim Jim.
That's kind of there, actually.
Kinda. Hang on, I gotta find one of his lines.
God.
Hang on. You did this.
You talk about the cream always rises to the top, cream of the crop, and all that.
Back when I was a boy, I was the cream of the crop.
Really hard combination, but you kind of
Yeah, it really is. It's like
You're doing way better than I thought you would, but this is also
hang on. It's like, good. But then, what in the blazes did you do to that? Do to yourself? That's a pretty nasty gash you got on your noggin there. Slam into a Slim Jim. There you go.
You know what help you. Snapping in a Slim Jim.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeehaw.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeehaw.
There you go.
Oh my
We did
God.
it. We've done it.
This is what the audience comes for.
Sure it is. Why not?
We love you people who listen.
I'm
Seriously.
surprised you guys do, but I appreciate you. Every single one of you.
All two of you
Hmm.
that are still listening.
But I'll move on to chapter 6. I am still unsure exactly what to believe of the rest of Tahir's story. I've known the man long enough to be sure that something happened, but God, I hope he's lying to me. This is in regards to like his entire platoon being killed.
Yeah.
Tahir's like group. I hope he's lying to me or crazy. Bandits and I didn't figure out how to pronounce that.
I think yeah.
I'll say Bethesda, and I will be wrong. Factions
Yeah.
are one thing. Living nightmares that slaughter and eat your men in front of you, that's something else. And then it goes to the next line. It's twilight. My men went to a midnight screening of it, and none of them walked out alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Sparkly
what that movie
vampires.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't see anything else when the first line I saw was "It's twilight." After
It's
talking about that,
But like the monster that
Yeah.
they took out Tahir's men. Yeah.
Mhm. And moving on. So Mike brings up a squad of guys. He brings a squad of guys down monster hunting, as he calls it. He mentions how he told them what Tahir told him, and they're going in assuming that's like that. There's actually a monster there. They're going there to kill the monster. And because of that, on the ride over, I expected some banter on the trip over, akin to like the helicopter intro ride in Predator, and like a
Yeah.
million other movies like it. But on the contrary, the story says that everyone says. On the contrary, the story says that everyone has like shut up during the ride, and they normally do have banter, but this time they don't.
Yeah,
which is kind of
it
interesting.
because it's like there's a gravitas to it. Like, it's like not only has this thing supposedly taken and presumably like harmed or killed children, according to if Tahir's story is true, it wiped out 50 guys.
Yeah.
So like it's a little bit they're actually taking it serious, like, and it's like a somber, like, all right, let's keep quiet, because like not only do we have like to worry about like regular dangers, like human dangers in the desert, we also may have some weird other thing that like Tahir keeps talking about. So,
well, the way I saw it, the reason that they were being quiet is simply just the fact of driving at night is so dangerous. Like,
yeah,
nothing to do with monsters, just like the human enemies out there could attack them. So like they all need to be paying attention and being quiet.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, like they had to be. Yeah, like they don't want any unnecessary noise being like alerting people to their presence. Like that's why they have all their lights out except for Tahir's pickup truck. Yeah,
and it's a good way to raise the tension here, even though the tension isn't because the monster itself. Sorry, even if the tension isn't because of the monster itself, the tension is still raised because of how concerned everyone is.
Yeah.
So it's better than most stories where like a monster's dropped and they just like don't even really seem to react to it, or they just there's no tension in most stories, but there was a lot of tension in this one, like through the whole damn thing.
Yeah,
which was really good.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of that section, chapter 6, I'm glad that by the end of it, Mike mentions that he thinks this might be a trap.
Yeah,
I had a feeling on the ride over that Tahir might be just trying to like take over the outpost and stuff.
Yeah, I was honestly like, there was a moment it was like, oh man, Tahir's actually not a bad guy, and then the end is like, curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, that's exactly what I felt. Like I
kind of believed I trusted you, Tahir, for a moment.
I went on a roller coaster ride of trust.
Yeah,
like immediately did not trust him, and then when he went down there with them, and like he was scared, he ran away and everything. Like, oh, okay, I feel bad for him now. I guess I trust him.
Yeah, and then like they get back to the tent. It's like, why is everybody like? There's nobody there. It's like, oh fuck. And then like I was actually not even thinking Tahir. I was thinking, oh, they just got killed by the monster. Another monster showed up or something and took out the outpost. And then the explosion thing. And then like he blacks out and like wakes up and it's Tahir's like, fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a dick.
Yep. Though his sorry, we're skipping ahead, but like on your notes, I'm sure, but on that part, it's like it also you kind of get it. It's sort of the same like why Tahir like betrayed them is because he wants the Americans out of his fucking country.
Yeah,
and like that happens a lot in like I've seen it a couple times in like Cthulhu games and like Cthulhu scenarios. Is like, oh, why are these like poor oppressed like peoples becoming cultists to like an eldritch horror and sacrificing like children or sacrificing people to it to like kill off the dictator and his government and of their country. And I understand now why. Like they become cultists out of desperation because of their situation in from a mundane horror of like humans being dicks to each other.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I kind of like think that's kind of the situation here is like Tahir was getting sick and tired of the Americans coming into his country and fucking shit up. So it's like, fuck it, I'm going to make a deal with an eldritch horror or a supernatural thing to try. And I don't care how many kids I got to sacrifice to it, as long as I get them out of my fucking country. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it kind of makes sense.
It does.
I'm not agreeing with that. Yeah, I'm not condoning or agreeing with Tahir or that kind of cult behavior, but like you get it.
Yeah.
It's wrong, but you get it.
Mm-hmm.
But sorry for hijacking your section.
It's fine. Don't worry about it. That's what we're here for. This is a discussion podcast.
It is.
But on to chapter 7. This is when they get through the caves, which is very much EDF. Honestly, there are many levels in EDF where you are going through a cave that is just a huge series of tubes that you go down. to inevitable defeat at the bottom. And speaking of, when they get to the bottom, I was under the impression that they were trying to be quiet.
Yeah.
But then they just loudly start talking and even shouting at the end, with one of them being like, "There's something in the water! Hey guys!" Like I did facepalm.
Billy?
Yeah. Because at this point they're essentially hunting an animal.
Yeah.
And the element of surprise is basically all you have in most cases when you're hunting.
Yeah.
If you don't have the element of surprise, then it's either going to kill you or it won't be there for you to hunt. And guess which of those two happened in the story?
Yeah, they got killed with extreme prejudice.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean,
yeah.
Not that it would have changed anything, but it just would have been a little bit more realistic if they were quiet and they like snuck up on it, and like it's like just like laying in the water or something, and then they just set up, create an ambush, and then all attack simultaneously. They would still all die.
Does nothing. Yeah, and it's like, and it still does nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. And like
it
would raise the tension even more too, just seeing it there, and like they have to like plan what to do. It's like, fuck, okay, we need to get in position and do all this and set up before that thing wakes up and sees us, like, and like have a dude like trip over a rock and have the rock like roll down into the water and go like bloop, and like moves and shit. There's lots of ways that you can make that super super tense, and they just don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's also like the way this creature is like it's effectively the equivalent of a Delta Green game, where your agents, like the agents ask, is like, all right, so we go to a greenhouse, which is like a Delta Green cache, like where agents can get equipment and stuff.
I don't think it's
like
greenhouse. Greenhouse is where you grow plants.
No, well it's because like green. Well, the Delta Green green box. Sorry, green box.
It is
that's
box.
What I meant.
I was gonna say, I was
box.
just the wrong word.
Yeah, my bad. Green box.
Yes.
But the reason I thought it was house is because most green boxes end up being like a foreclosed house or a house that they've bought on the cheap, or like
I thought
a
they
storage
were
unit kind of thing.
Again, I don't know much about Delta Green. I thought it was always just like a cargo container full of shit.
Well, it's sort of because it's like it's from the 90s, where like the Delta Green organization was an illegal conspiracy within the government. So like the government didn't actually condone any of the shit they did, and in fact would target them and like get rid of them or whatever. So they were called the Cowboys. So like they were on the run from the government as well as from civilian organizations and such. Yeah. But so they use tradecraft to like, again, like rent out or buy storage units or cargo containers, or like old houses that like were really cheap to rent out, and they'd use those as like green boxes, and they just like check in on them every so often. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like in this scenario, it's like the creatures like in terms of like the creature versus like the soldiers, it's the equivalent of your game master saying, yeah, you can have that AK that armor piercing those armor piercing rounds and that rocket launcher. You want that flamethrower? You got it, buddy. And you're just like, the more you ask and the more your GM's giving to you, you're just like, can I have a 9mm? Why? So I can put it in my mouth.
Yeah,
we've already lost, haven't we? It's like, yeah. Like, it doesn't matter how many munitions you put into that monster, it's not dying.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it kind of got the feeling for that, because like I kind of noticed like it could have just been like the way they were describing like the first assault, like with the ricocheting. I was like, are the bullets actually just ricocheting off its carapace and then hitting the rocks and also ricocheting like around the cave?
Yeah, it wasn't described. I kind of have a note on that, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Can I have the reins back?
Hey, here you go. Sorry.
You thoroughly took that into like.
I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. But yes, we get to the chapter 8, where it's actually describing the creature.
Segue.
Is woven from pure nightmare, rearing up out of the pool. The thing's head towers 20 feet above us. It resembles nothing so much as some kind of giant centipede crossed with a sea monster. It's segmented sections of its body protected by a shiny carapace. First thing I said when I read that and also saw the picture was ADF. Is what I would be screaming as I start shooting at that thing immediately. And they do that, at least the shooting.
No, they're also shouting EDF, EDF.
Yeah, for all we know, that's actually the name of their section of the military, but probably not. But
Well, they were pretty cavalier when they heard there's a monster in a cave by Tahir. It's like it kind of like they were like, yes, let's bring an entire contingent to this cave. It's like I was kind of surprised by that, but
yeah,
at the same time I wasn't willing to.
super down for it. Maybe
Yeah,
they were
but
just bored.
I think it was like I think they weren't focusing more on like, all right, Tahir, like basically. Mike rolled his sense. Well, I guess maybe didn't roll his sense motive on Tahir, and believed his story to the point where, and also like the fact that it's like its kids have gone missing, and like Tahir's like 50 of Tahir's men have been wiped out. It's like they were taking it seriously, but they weren't sure what they were getting themselves into because they didn't have any information.
Yeah, they were viewing it as we're going in to rescue kids.
Yeah.
Like that's what they're doing. So that's where the seriousness is coming in. They probably don't believe that there's actually a monster.
Yeah, and they do even like say like, "Oh no, Tahir, you're coming with us, just in case this whole fucking story is, which sounds like bullshit, is actually you just trying to ambush us."
And it technically was both.
It technically was both.
Yeah, because it was kind of bullshit, but kind of real. But he was like, he was planning on ambushing them, but not here technically. Like,
yeah.
There's a lot of things. Yes, we'll move on.
Here's the rains again.
The monster roars again as it is enveloped in a storm of gunfire that goes on for the better part of 30 seconds. So this is like the initial like volley of fire that they put on him. So during this whole time, is the creature just standing there as like bullets bounce off? Is it flinching and stumbling from all the shots that are like effectively stun locking it in place? Are they missing it because it's moving around a lot? Basically, my whole point here is like the focus is so dead set to talk about the soldiers that we don't see what's happening. This is basically when the Predator shows up and everyone just shoots the jungle.
Yeah. You're right.
Like, it takes until after they need to reload for the creature to do anything. I want to know why. Was it standing there because it's like, haha, you can't do shit? Was it dodging? Or was it literally stun locked, like what I said? Like, the bullets were doing something, and enough bullets, it can't move forward from, like, the amount of bullets being fired at it. But as soon as they stop firing, it can attack.
I definitely side with the idea that it was just, like, taking it is like, do it.
Yeah.
Come here, kill me.
It's on a little bit of a power trip, yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like some kind of like abyssal creature that sees itself superior to humans because they're just tasty snacks. Mm-hmm. So,
and also in regards to this first combat, it's a little odd that they all run out of ammo at the same time. With like a handful of soldiers of different skill levels using different weapons, from like a 30-shot M16 to the 200 shots from the M249. Like, odds of them all needing to reload simultaneously seems a little low.
Mm.
Like, yes, they all started shooting at the same time, but some soldiers might have been more hesitant to shoot. Some might have been moving to cover before they start shooting. Some might be fumbling. I also imagine that they're trained to cover each other to reload in firefights, so you don't go out of ammo at the same time. But all that being said, all that shit might have been thrown out the window when it's face to face with a giant monster, and the only thought is, "Oh God, shoot it!"
Yeah, like they all rolled sand. They all rolled sand. They all failed. They're all actually like choosing fight out of the fight, flight, or freeze.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they're just like, ah.
Pretty much. But we'll move on to chapter 9. Okay. Regarding the magical artifact, I'm unsure how I feel about it, as it brings in some magical element into this story. Like it was weird enough with the giant EDF monster, but like now we're making we're mixing magic into our fantasy now. What is this, Shadowrun? Sorry, Mikey.
It's also actually very super secret world again too. It does kind of lighten up the horror, because like if that magical artifact wasn't there, it would just be a very bleak, like desperate escape for survival, like out of this tunnel, and that's fine. Like that might have been better, but like it's like I think the author is trying to tie in some like greater like overarching cosmic forces into this story.
Yeah,
but yeah, because there's definitely like some kind of opposing forces in the universe of this setting.
It did just kind of make it too easy for him to get out, though. Like finding the magical MacGuffin.
I mean, it did, but at the same time, it also didn't, because the creature also ambushed them before they got to the entrance.
Yeah, it wasn't a clean escape as soon as he got it.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not like he led his entire squad out of there. Him and the broken body. I'm surprised Troy survived. Like up until you know the final finale. But I'm surprised he survived his broken body getting out of that cave. Honestly, yeah,
he probably should have died.
Yeah,
but yeah, and then on to chapter 10.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start with this quote here. Fuck you! Troy empties the entire magazine into the monster's face at almost point-blank range. It roars in fury and reels back slightly before recovering. So, I hate to say it, but a rifle at range would be doing a lot more damage than a pistol at point-blank. If pistols were that much better than rifles, we wouldn't have rifles. Because I say that because it's flinching, and it hasn't mentioned flinching ever with the thousands of rounds that they shot at it with rifles and machine guns. Yet a handgun point blank makes it flinch.
I think it's because like he's right up in its grill, like at its mouth, where the tender parts are.
They shot an M203 grenade into its throat. They shot a grenade in his throat, and it didn't do anything. But a handgun point blank makes it stumble. And as I said before, a handgun point blank will hurt less than a rifle at range, especially the fact that it has armor. Rifles are made to penetrate armor. A pistol is made just to penetrate flesh.
All right, fair. Yeah.
Maybe you found the creature's weakness. You have to hit it really lightly, and it recoils in pain.
Oh my god!
The bullets
you know what?
were too fast.
You laugh. That's actually how the shields work in Dune.
Yeah.
Also the kinetic barriers in Mass Effect.
Yeah, that's true. Because you can slowly shank someone, which happened in our Mass Effect D20 game on our sister podcast.
Yeah. In the new Doom, also in the new Dune, not Doom, Dune film, they have bombs that like attack the ships. But they land on the shields that are just outside of the ship, and they slowly vibrate slowly through the ship shields, and then when they get through the shields, they explode and basically creates this like shaped explosion within the confines of the force field.
Yeah, I saw that. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I saw that.
But
not on the movie. I saw it from like a video, but
yeah. But yeah, that's what their shields is they can like kinetic weapons and fast moving high impact attacks don't do anything, but if you slow yourself enough that you can actually wiggle through the shields.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that is the thing's weakness.
But I don't know.
And that would explain how it was able to be lured pushed into this cave and imprisoned by perhaps by earlier people, because they didn't have high velocity weapons. They were just using spears and swords and stuff like that to kind of just not kill it, but at least push it back into the cave, and then have somebody put down those runes to keep it protected.
So you're saying this creature has been created / evolved into its current state to protect itself from technology in a future that doesn't exist yet.
Yes.
Well,
actually, sorry.
The explanation is that it's an alien. So it flies through space and has to crash land on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So it has to have that protection to be able to crash land and survive.
Yeah, maybe. Also, I would like to point out that so the Dark Young of Shub-Niggurath from Call of Cthulhu, the RPG and stuff like that, you will do more damage against it as a Roman centurion with a sword than you will as a Chicago gangster with a Thompson, because damage reduction, some of that is it's piercing, high impact piercing does less damage on this creature because of its armor than slashing does.
Okay, but he's not shooting slashing bullets.
No, I'm just saying. Like, I'm just saying, it's less impact. It's less like because of the armor piercing and because of like that. Like, they're less effective than like the lower yield bullets. We're also just speculating at this point. So yeah,
I just think it was done because it's cinematic and cool.
Yeah, probably. It's like his last stand.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Though it could be said that like maybe it would be just as effective if the creature, instead of like recoiling, he's just laughing at his food to be.
I'm fine with it recoiling as long as it always has been recoiling from bullets.
Yeah.
My whole problem is the fact that all of the other bullets that they fired at it's nothing was described of their impact of what happened. Meanwhile, like, they're trying to see if it works. Like, obviously it's not killing it, but is it doing anything at all?
Yeah, we just don't get a thing. Or but I'm saying it's like, yes, either that, like have it react earlier, or again have the reaction be like it just like laughing in the face of this bullets rather than recoiling, because it's like that, then it's just showing it's like, yeah, no, they're just fucked. They can't hurt this thing.
Yeah, I would have preferred that.
Yeah.
Like, there needs to be some consistency. It's either it recoils all the time, or it doesn't at all. Because we have both. And it recoils from the less yield ammo for reasons.
40% of the time, it recoils every time.
Like, unless the dude had like a freaking 50 cal, like a Desert Eagle, or like a freaking Smith & Wesson 500 as a sidearm, as his military service sidearm.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You don't know.
Yeah. But I'll move on from my gun rant.
Okay.
Then, of all the unbelievable... I need to say words correctly. Wake up. Then, of all the unbelievable and fantastic happenings of the day, the most astounding occurs. The creature starts to speak. And then to that I'm like, no, don't make the creature speak. It's just going to be silly now. It knows English? Is this ancient creature from God knows where, knows English while living in a cave in Iraq? Okay. Does it have a library down one of the paths where it sits down in a huge wingback chair to learn a bunch of different languages? Like, it just kept giving me very silly visuals of this creature.
I mean, that's the silly way to go. I would suspect it's like, well, maybe it has some kind of telepathic ability to like read people's minds and learn the language from the organisms it's devoured, or like how ghouls, like when they eat fresh brains, they gain the memories of the person that they've eaten.
Maybe, but like it just says it starts to speak, and it doesn't really say that it's telepathic. So like its mouth is moving; it is physically making the noises.
Yeah,
and like it's just silly to me. And
to you, I was gonna say
the one way I got around it though.
Okay,
I am assuming through my headcanon that Mike can understand it because he's holding the stone.
That is also honestly that's accurate right there.
But I wish it was explained that way by like he's holding onto the stone. This thing's about to eat his friend. It starts talking in English, and it shocks him to the point that he drops the stone. And then when the stone's out of his hand, it sounds like gibberish all of a sudden. He's like, "Oh shit!" And he picks the stone up again so he can understand it.
Fair. It does say, its voice is harsh, like a bandsaw cutting through metal, and sudden and sounds utterly wrong coming from such a being. Despite that, I have no problem interpreting its words.
Yeah.
It does say that. So like that could be like the hint that like, yeah, it's because of the stone that Mike has that he's able to hear.
That's way too light.
Maybe. Also, so do you have a problem with the grave mind talking, like from the Flood? With the giant flappy like Audrey mouth?
In that game, you are a big space marine man going around shooting things.
Yeah.
You are not little squishy marine man in a
what does that have to fucking
horror scenario?
What the fuck does that have to do with it? He's still like, it's like what does the Master Chief have that like that this character that this marine doesn't that like allows him to hear the grave mind using his flappy mouth to say cryptic, cool, creepy shit?
He's been hearing aliens speak English for ages, and also I think they use translators on the aliens. So either way, he is you as a player playing Halo. You have been hearing aliens speak English for a while. It's not weird. You being a normal human man, experiencing normal human man life, experiencing a giant centipede that just speaks English. That's weird. It's silly.
We have very different things. Like, I would be terrified of this thing. I'd be less like worried about silliness for this one. But
I just don't understand why he would speak English.
Fair.
If it was in like a primarily English speaking country, maybe, because it may have learned some through osmosis. But like, it's not. And if it's the relic, fine. But make it clear that it's the relic. In my opinion, it should be.
Fair enough.
I will
concede
out of your hand. It's just speaking in its native tongue, which would be horrifying. But the relic is helping him understand, and he's the only one that needs to understand because he's the only one that's awake there.
I will concede that yes, the relic, because it seems like the relic is what's allowing him to hear this thing. Unless again, it's just some kind of supernatural creature. Don't think too hard on it. But I will concede.
Here to think hard on this, though.
I know, I know. We are being we are here to like discuss and like overthink things. We're thinking too hard about creepypastas. Yeah. But yeah, like I'm willing to concede that like there should be some more hint that the stone allows him to understand the demon thing. Mm-hmm. Much like how it kind of talks to him or gives him like not so much talking but like feelings of like where to go and stuff like that.
Yeah. Or again, make the talking telepathic.
Yeah.
Just like I'm okay with it talking. I just need a reason. That isn't silly in my opinion. I'll move on from there to the epilogue. In my final note, the woman, a brunette, has bags under her eyes as if she hadn't slept in days. But even those didn't stop me from realizing how remarkably attractive she was. I shout through the door, "Who are you, lady? What do you want?" "My name is Sarah Wilder, and something terrible has happened to my husband." "Uh-huh. Of course your name is that. Cultist? Did you write this, or you should have sworn?"
I wish. I legitimately wish I had written this.
It's a Sarah. You must have written it.
Yes, clearly. I was Shadow Swimmer the whole time.
My God. What a revelation.
No. Disclaimer, I am not Shadow Swimmer.
No, you're not. Yeah, to those unaware, he often makes attractive females named Sarah in our games.
Attractive female? I just like it came from like there was one game I ran for One Less Die, where the diner waitress was named Sarah, and then because I was lazy, every diner waitress I ever in our games ended up being Sarah, and it eventually was caught by one of the players who called me out on it, and so then I turned it into a bit.
Yes.
Where everyone is Sarah.
Mm-hmm. But yes.
Yeah.
That's the end of my notes.
Okay. Well, on to final thoughts then. This was honestly a really enjoyable read. A bit of a modern pulp cosmic horror to me. Like I said earlier, I feel like this could I could easily picture this as a story in the Secret World setting, or even like fodder for the Secret World, like for maybe the tabletop RPG or something. But also it kind of fits in like the lines with like Delta Green again, with the creature that is underneath the underneath the desert, and like somebody wakes it up and like makes a deal with it, and then like the military has to deal with it or gets pulled into it and stuff like that, and then this character is now dealing with this creature or like the effects of that event. Yeah, the whole military, like sort of, I guess, military heroic horror aspect of it is really cool to me. It also like I was surprised that like half the story was set in the modern in the present day, not the modern specifically, but the present day, and then the rest was in a flashback. But it was like it really helped to kind of like establish the characters and like the whole situation that's going on with Mike, and like how he got from the event in Iraq to his current position, his current existence, and like why he's being stalked now by some creatures, and like what he was being stalked for because of that relic and his and the effect it had on him and such. I want to see more of it. Like obviously, like the ending, it leaves off with a cliffhanger, and I want and need to read more of it. I want to know what happens. So yeah, I'm gonna still fully recommend the story. It was a romp. So, Mikey, these stands for evil.
Oh. So, my biggest issue with this story is that it's two stories.
Yeah.
Like the past and the present.
Yeah.
So, the past, in my mind, is a complete story.
Yeah.
It happens. We're good. The present is a partial story. We don't get the closure that we get with the past story.
Fair.
So what I mean by that is the monster, I guess from the past, for whatever reason, is still after him. What, 3 years later?
Yeah.
And it's only now showing itself.
Or it's finally found him with its servitors.
Here's the thing. The monster can't exactly just book a flight.
Yeah.
So it has to find other means to get across the pond.
Or it has to, or it's not. It could still be in the desert. It's just using its servitors to go after, him, or search for him, because he'll like. It's clear that it's looking for him because of the relic, but he doesn't have the relic anymore. So but he was the last one with the relic. So they're after him, and then they realize that he doesn't have the relic. So now they're trying to find it, kind of thing. Yeah.
But the problem is, that they're after him, but they're after him because he's one of the few that can use the relic.
You don't know that.
So, well, that's what it's made out, because the monster in the past is surprised that he can use the relic.
I thought you were just surprised that he had it.
It might be both, or it might be either.
I mean, yeah. But I thought again, there's no facts one way or another, but I saw that personally. Just, oh, you found that shit.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. I kind of saw it's like, what? You've awakened it? Damn you! Ah!
Yeah, I don't have the quote here, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
But he mentions like a certain type of people like don't exist anymore type thing.
You might be right, actually. That's
he's become one of Gaia's chosen. Yeah.
Anyway, and then the other thing is, like, why doesn't the monster just kill him, even though he doesn't have the relic? Like, he's vulnerable now that he doesn't have the relic, but if he had the relic, it would be a pain for them to kill him.
Sure, it's kind of weird that the monster. Well, again, maybe that's just like
you're referring to
the old man.
Yeah,
because if he kills him, then he can't potentially get the relic. Because if anyone's going to find the relic, it's going to be the guy who used it last.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I don't think it's a grudge against him. They literally just want the relic.
Yeah. Also, the line was, "Impossible! The light is lost. The sleepers no more."
Yes. So he. Yes.
All right. Fair enough. I will pull back my statement from earlier. Yes, he is special.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing is, like, we're left on the cliffhanger of why is there a woman with child who's obviously running from something at his door with a grainy picture of what we assume is the relic. Like, there's a lot of questions. Yeah. There's a lot of questions, and because to me, the portion that's set in the present is incomplete.
Oh, 100%.
So
we need more, but yeah.
Oh
my god! Sorry. I just decided to quick because like I just now was like, why didn't I look this up sooner? Like Sarah Wilder, the story before this one, which we did called Lights, has a character named David Wilder, and there's I think it's involving like an alien abduction with him and another woman, and the aliens impregnate the woman with David Seed, who's Sarah Wilder.
So Sarah is the alien baby?
Oh no, Sarah is the mother of not the alien baby, but like to the David is a human. Like David Wilder is a human, but the aliens abducted both of them and I guess impregnated Sarah with David's seed so that they would have a child because the child was destined. If I remember correctly, now that memories are starting to come back to me about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's our fault for reading these out of order.
We didn't read out of order. We just it's been like literally a year or more since the last story we read in the Wicker series. So yeah.
I'm not having the context in our minds from the previous.
That's true. Yeah.
So basically, my whole recommendation being partial is because we have in one hand a complete story, and the other hand an incomplete story. And if the incomplete story is continued in another story, then I would probably give this a full recommendation. But because of how it is in this story, it's only a partial from me.
Okay. I see where you're coming from with that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
like basically, if this story was just the past story by itself, it'd be a full recommendation. And then if if all the present day stuff was the next story, but also combined with the next story to actually progress it to a actual conclusion, then that would also be a full recommendation. You don't have a problem with either. You just have a problem that they're mixed together with one of them incomplete. Gotcha.
Okay. So partial recommendation still. Then.
Yes.
Okay. And then Gamer.
Yep. For me, I'm like partially going to be parroting what Mikey just said, because I do agree that it is two stories, obviously, because it is. But there's just a lot. Like, it was good, but it's a lot. And not even just word count, but because of the two stories being told in parallel. And, like, there's between 2 to 3 different supernatural entities in this, because it's not confirmed 100% that Beals is the thing that was chasing him before.
It straight up says.
Did he say that he was chasing him before?
No, but
he's going off an assumption just by looking at his eyes. For all we
so
know, his entire race has bright red eyes.
Yeah. So Mike is making an ass of you and Umption.
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, there's between 2 and 3 different supernatural entities in this. There's a magical artifact, 2 different locations, 2 different years the stories are told in, a grizzled old best friend with a touching backstory, a woman with a connection to the events of his past. Like, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah.
And plus, like, the whole story with the soldiers being killed and, like, the backstab attempt. Or not attempt, the thing that succeeded, actually. The coup or whatever. That being said, though I was hurriedly reading through this to get it done in time because I didn't budget my time well at all, I still did really like the read. I liked the military viewpoint of it all, like the characters, the monsters were cool and interesting. There was limited derp decisions, like notwithstanding the random damage on the bullets that they do. Like Maybe they're all rolling ones when they were doing damage in the cave, but when he pulled that handgun out, he was critting on that motherfucker. But
Yeah.
that was weird. But and them not being sneaky in there when they probably should have because they were hunting it. Those were really the only two weird parts that I would personally change. But it wasn't enough to actually influence my enjoyment of the story because the story is well written and everything is described very clearly in most cases. But yeah, my only gripes are the ones I mentioned. And magic is kind of weird being introduced into this, but if it is explained further and it's not like the only magical MacGuffin artifact and like magic is actually real in this world, then I guess I can explain it more, but I'm not going to have that information until we read more stories from this series. But as it stands, I will still fully recommend it with those couple of caveats.
Mm-hmm. Also, something to put into mind or bring to mind for the Wicker Saga. They are a series of standalone yet interconnected stories that together serve to tell a larger narrative, and it's currently ongoing.
Yep.
So like not every story that we're going to read is going to be in perfect order, like chronological order. Like I'm literally just going down the list of the Wicker Saga. So we did like Wicker House, we did Lights. We've just covered Saga. Our next one's going to be Petals, but Petals may not be like directly linked to Soldier or to the Soldier.
Okay.
So just as an FYI to you guys and to our listeners as we continue down the rabbit hole of the Wicker Saga. So was that still a recommendation though for you, or is that
I'll still recommend it. Like there were things that annoy me about it, but it wasn't enough to actually taint my enjoyment of the story. Like yes, it was a silly talking giant monster that was murdering everyone, and yes, there's magic there, and yes, they shouldn't have been derpy in those few situations, and like bullets do damage, but yeah, it was still fun. So yes.
Yeah, and like the cliffhanger for me, like I was annoyed, like, oh no, you can't just end it like that. But it didn't ruin the story for me. It means like I hope there better be another a continuation of this down the road. So like, because I want to know more, because this is a really compelling story for me and I really enjoyed it. So
I wish I didn't read it last second, because when I got to the end with the cliffhanger, I'm like, oh thank God. I was able to breathe.
Yeah,
I wanted the story to be over. I was running low on time.
yeah. That's the other thing. Is like how you read it. It was like I'll try and keep for next as we go through this. I'll try and see how long things are and like try and keep like let you know and keep you appraised of like how long you have to read it. So you're not like last minute reading.
Time. The fault is only on me.
Yeah. To be fair, this week was kind of we just came back from a convention this week, so like I was kind of in a brain fog all week. Like I didn't want to do anything, so I was very procrastinating as well. Like I probably read this about I read this probably a few hours ahead of you, basically. Like I got all my stuff done and reading like probably like
you were done chapter 10 when I was starting to read.
Yeah,
fair. I finished this 20 minutes before recording.
Wait, yeah, as we pull the curtain back.
Yeah.
But even that, like, as like the fact that you had to like rush to read this and you still like really enjoyed it is like is a testament, I think, to the writing and stuff of the story as well.
Yeah, for sure. It's very well written, lots of enjoyable characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very fleshed out characters.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Especially when their flesh is on the outside. It's supposed to be inside.
Yes. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I guess that'll do it. So 2 recommendations and 1 partial recommendation, but really just because there's 1 complete story here and a partial story. So a partial story, so a partial recommendation, I guess, for Mikey.
Well, it's basically just it's not a conclusion. Like you can't just read it.
We need it. Yeah. Or it's enticing you to like wait for the next one. Tune in next time on the exciting episode of Wicker Saga. It's like the Boo Saga of Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Or the Cell Saga, the Wicker Saga.
At least but I think 5 episodes to charge up that like fire attack.
that purifying flame.
Yeah.
Yeah. Though he has it had almost the same destructive power as a low yield Dragon Ball Z attack.
Yeah, really did.
Especially when I heard, or like when the military is like, "Yeah, we found you in a crater where like your entire like encampment was wiped out, plus a large portion of a neighborhood, including like mosques, a building, residential buildings, stuff like that." I was like, "Oh God."
Mm-hmm.
It was apparently not. It didn't. It wasn't prejudiced to any one thing. It just wiped out everything in that area.
Yeah, it did friendly fire for sure.
Yeah, there was definitely some friendly fire going on. But
God, he killed so many civilians then. I
uh,
just realized that.
yeah,
I'm sure those
that's how
places weren't
yeah.
empty.
That's part of the heroic horror. Is like, yeah, our hero. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Collateral damage.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'm surprised he's not more fucked up, honestly, than what he is.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below. This gets posted. We're all on Twitter. Mikey's at the E stands for evil. The Gamer and Yell is at the Gamer and Yell, but without that W at the end because his name is very long.
Yeah.
I'm at Review Cultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah. And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Look up Al Dente Rigor Mortis and select the package you'd like to support us at. With $2 and $5 tiers, we have special episodes, early access, extra content. To our patrons that are helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely. Because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void. And without your authorship, without these various creepypastas and stories that you write and share online for people to read and get spooked by, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we'd have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for evil.
And I'm the Gamer in Yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigor Mortis. Sleep well.